VSP back here again. Back here again. Lana Del Rey said it best. Blue jeans, white shirt. That's who I was when I was a kid. Levi's 501 Blues. I think I weighed just about 200 pounds when I graduated. I was in pretty awesome shape. I played a lot of hockey. And that kind of reminds me of my favorite rock and roll songs of all time. I actually Googled the best rock and roll songs of all time. And I think there's only one or two that are on my list that I seen on Google. So that's kind of cool that I'm a little different. Money for Nothing. We had, I don't know how many hockey games, and we had a boom box, like one of those boom boxes. And I don't know how many times I listened to Money for Nothing. Money for nothing and the chicks for free. They don't play that on the radio anymore. That little faggot with the earring and the mink coat, no, it doesn't fly today. It's still part of the song. I don't disagree with it. I don't care. They were trying to describe something back in the day. Money for Nothing, Dire Straits. There's a list of Dire Straits songs I like, don't worry, but that is my number one for Dire Straits. So, blue jeans and a white shirt. I remember buying my very, very first non-white shirt, and it was a rock and roll shirt. And it was Ozzy Osbourne. And I like, first of all, I love Black Sabbath. I actually prefer a lot of the Black Sabbath stuff to the Ozzy Osbourne stuff. And I've got a couple of them that are on my list here. I loved War Pigs. I think the song is just as relevant, if not more relevant today than the day it was written. Here comes my dog. And it's a spectacular song. I mean, it's not exactly the greatest on vinyl. It's not the best recorded song, but it's a great song. Following that one is The Wizard. I don't know why. There's something magical about that song. Maybe because when I was a kid, I hung out with some like nerdier people and played a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons or something back in the 80s. And there's something about The Wizard that just sets me off. But, and Fairies Wear Boots. I'm just going to throw that one in there. That's really not one of my favorites, but Fairies Wear Boots, and you got to believe me. How stoned would you have had to been to write that fucking song? That's what that's what I think. And it's a great fucking song. Like, fairies wear boots and you got to believe me. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, it's great. Okay, favorite Black Sabbath song of all time. Maybe something you might want to listen to. Probably something you haven't heard. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you're as big of a Sabbath fan as me. It is never on one of their best. It's never on... I don't think it ever made the charts. Whether it was liked or not, I don't know. But going through a tumultuous time in my life when my father died, which would have been about 1990, this song just kept coming up, and I can't even remember what frickin' album it's on. Because I listened to them all, man. Like, I still have every Sabbath. Like, I've got it downloaded. I've got it CDs. I've got everything. Everything, I got it. I didn't like the Ronnie James Dio stuff. Not because I don't like RJD, Old Leather Lungs. It's not that I don't like him. I love Dio, like Holy Diver and Rainbow in the Dark and stuff like that. Like, I love Dio. He was wicked. But he just wasn't Ozzy, for me in Black Sabbath. So anyway, that brings me to my next song, which is Spiral Architect by Black Sabbath. If you haven't heard it, throw it on. But you're going to have to listen to it more than once to just listen to the words. It's a very interesting song. It might even make you think of your mother. It might make you think of an old girlfriend. It'll make you think about kind of crazy shit. Next one Like, I don't care what anyone says. If you don't like Kashmir by Led Zeppelin, and that was on the top 10 list, you're nuts. Jimmy Page was spectacular. Robert Plant, to this day, is still a great singer. Jimmy can probably play the guitar like nobody's business still to this day. But like, I followed Plant now in Zen. Like, I just followed Plant forever. I never stopped. Like Ship of Fools was a great just Plant song. He was just I don't even know if he was a great guy or not, but he sure does a good interview, and I really like Led Zeppelin. And the list of Led Zeppelin songs is too long for me to mention, but I picked my favorite. Here's one. He's a Canadian, and it's Tom Cochrane and Red Rider and Lunatic Fringe. There is just something about that song that makes my car go faster. It connects my brain to my right foot. I have no idea. It's almost like Turbo Lover by Judas Priest. Christ, I'll get speeding tickets listening to that thing. And not only me, a couple of my buddies too. Anyway, Tom Cochrane, Lunatic Fringe. Okay, so I painted this guy, Kiss the Sky album, 10 by 10 when I was a kid to pass Art 30, and I put it on the wall. My art teacher said, you can't, you're not going to pass, you're going to fail, you're too busy helping everybody else. And I'm like, yeah, well, nobody of these guys are good at artwork. You know what I mean? I should get something for helping. I said, I'm tired of it. Like, I'm just tired of it. And he says, well, you got to give me something. So I painted a 10 by 10 picture of Jimi Hendrix, and it took like 6 or 7. No, it was an equal number, because it had to make a perfect square of 32-inch by 24-inch manila tag pieces, and I taped them all together. I put them on my wall, and I sat there for the whole night into 3 o'clock in the morning, and I painted with Tremclad and a sponge a picture of Jimi Hendrix. I also silk screened it on the back of my jacket not shortly after, and Jimmy was half Cherokee Indian, and he was half black. And he was given a guitar that was right-handed, strung it upside down, had his whammy bar on top, and became an absolute genius. There are things that people still cannot do today with pedals and technology that Jimmy did in 1968. He was not the greatest singer. Like, Hey Joe was good. But I mean, he wasn't a frontman singer. Like, like Stevie Ray Vaughan was a bit better of a singer, but, a little less of a guitarist. Even though I also love Stevie Ray Vaughan, I always compare the Voodoo Child to the Voodoo Child. I have 2 separate systems. I'll play it on one, I'll play it on the other. I'll be stopping in between, and I'll be like, SRV can't do that. SRV can't do that. SRV can't do that. He tried. And then SRV just simply said, you guys compare me to Jimi Hendrix all the time. And that's an unfair comparison. And I was like, okay, what's he up to? He says, Jimmy was Jimmy, and I'm me. And I was like, fuck, man. You had me at hello. You're right, 100%. Then I fell in love with SRV. I mean, I just started listening to his music for what it was, instead of comparing some of it to Jimi Hendrix. And then it was easy, Texas Flood and stuff like that. Like, these aren't on my list, but I'm just talking about music. Okay, so my second non-white t-shirt was green. And it was basically brass knuckles right on the shirt. Like, brass knuckles right across the shirt. And in the knuckle where it would hold your fingers, it said Tool. And I remember my girlfriend at the time saying, oh my God, that's my favorite band. She was 15. I was 18. She was the prettiest girl in the school. No bullshit. I eventually married her, and she's actually not doing very well right now, and may cross over. Either way, that's probably what makes Tool so important to me. So I've actually got 3 from Tool. The first one I've got from Tool is the one that got me hooked on Tool, and that was Sober. And the reason that Sober got me pretty bad was my dad drank too much. My mom drank too much, and my dad had died. My mom's long gone too now, but they both died from alcohol-related issues. You know, maybe not so much my dad, but my mom definitely loneliness, drank herself to death. So Sober hit me hard. Not only did it hit me hard, but the fucking MTV video just was like, whoa, it was out of this world. And that's where I started studying this poetry done by a guy named Maynard. And I mean, we didn't have the internet back then, so you couldn't just say, oh, who sang this song, blah, 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 blah. We didn't have shit, man. So if you didn't buy the album, you didn't know. So I remember buying that album, along with Soundgarden, along with Pearl Jam, along with all those, like that was the kind of time frame, 1990, 1989. It was 92 when I picked up Tool. My next favorite song from Tool is Pneuma. Pneuma means breathe. And it's a very interesting song. And the word pneuma, like pneumonia, pneuma, means breathe. And I know my wife battles to breathe all the time. And it's not my favorite song because of that, but it's my favorite song because it reminds me of that. Do you know what I mean? And then from Tool, again, is Invincible. That's on the Fear Inoculum album. The last two are on the Fear Inoculum album. So well recorded. Very hard to play on a high-end stereo. Like when you're pushing 440 watts, to each side, you kind of want to keep it around, I don't know, almost 200. Because Tool's recorded really light, and then it goes really hard, and then it goes really light, and then it goes really hard. So if you don't start the song out around 200 watts, and that's a lot of sound, you're going to be taxing your equipment at certain parts. And Invincible, especially, with Danny Carey and his drums, will just tax the shit out of everything you own. Your speakers, your subwoofers, and never mind the six string. The six string in that one spot when Danny quiets down, singers quiet down, everything's quiet down, and it's just six string. And it's probably one of my favorite songs. I don't know if Adam plays it or who plays it. I think it's Adam, but I can't remember. I haven't really dissected the song. It's pretty new to me. It was recorded in 2019. I shouldn't say it's new to me, but I've only recently got back into music, as in 2 years ago. So finding shit these days is just, forever it was just Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Judas Priest. And now I've downloaded Tidal. I think I've had it for 2 years. And I got rid of Spotify. I still have Apple Music, don't get me wrong. And because I was 50 this year, I bought myself a fucking kick-ass stereo system and spent way too much money. But I've always had a kick-ass stereo system. I just never had anything with this kind of... I've never had I shouldn't say I've never had a stereo. I've had tons of stereos. I collect them, for Christ's sake. But I've never had anything of this power. You know what I mean? And anyway, that's my 10 out of 10. Well, that's more than 10, actually. But anyway, what do you guys think? Put some shit down in the comments.